Stoa is a digital campfire where we cohere in dialogue about what matters most at the knife's edge of what's happening now.
Boom.
Awesome.
There you go.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. Yeah, so I'm working on this project that's, as the title suggested, a game bee of sorts. So we're trying to, build a new game of life. Let me just share my screen. There we go. This works. Does it? Perfect. All right, so it's a massive online coordination game. And there were MMORPGs, which were massive online role-playing games. There were MOOCs, like massive online open courses. And hopefully now there will be massive online coordination games, which are about coordinating, solving the real-world problems. The problem. So the way the world currently works, like it's optimized for making profit. Like if you pay your workers well, you make sure that the materials your source is all ethically sourced, and then you get crushed in the market. People like you have to charge higher prices than everyone else, and the market crushes you. And so the economy is basically focused around the maximum resource extraction, like both from the earth and like maximum extraction of resources like labor from the people. And part of the reason is that the world is focused on wrong metrics of success. And one of them is GDP, which is focused on infinite growth on a finite planet. And it ends up with the tragedy of the commons, and it's a downward spiral, which I have to explain to this audience. And so I've always been looking into like alternative socioeconomic systems. Like previously, the Zeitgeist trilogy was my favorite documentaries, and always researching like eco-villages and whatnot. And it's the search of commons at scale. And people live good lives in this sort of on a small scale. Like these eco-villages tend to have higher moral standards because like it's hard to be an asshole when everybody knows you, and they tend to be more human focused. But the problem is that they can scale. And then when societies do scale, they tend to centralize, and more centralization leads to more focus on self-interest of the top of the hierarchy and more prone to corruption. There's less transparency, which leads to less fairness. And the bigger things go, the more industrialized, the more they're focused on numbers versus the people. And what is the solution? Well, like a new socioeconomic operating system, a new culture, new measures of success, a bit of all of those. And that's kind of what MetaGame is trying to be. And it starts in phase 1, which is a decentralized factory. And the goal is to build a hub for anyone interested in building decentralized organizations and applications, to have these guides to anything one needs to build them, and a community of people to support them in building them. And to start building this infrastructure for a decentralized world. And so the basic infrastructure, which is the goal of phase 1, is to build this basic infrastructure. And the basic infrastructure we are currently using is GitHub, Discord, and Discourse, like to do things and talk to each other via chat, forums, and video calls. Then we use this thing called SourceCred, which basically runs a modified Google's PageRank algorithm to measure contribution to the cause. And so it runs an algorithm on top of GitHub, Discord, and Discourse, and then allows us to like have a human input on what the algorithm doesn't account for properly or messes up. And then we fix that. And then we use Ethereum, which is a sort of a decentralized database technology for running decentralized applications. And there we use Treebox, which is the core primitive for decentralized identity. There's Aragon, which is used for building decentralized organizations. And we use Balancer for having a market for our token that we use. And so that's the magical source code, is that like you start a project, whatever you're working on, and you create this source code, which is you start your own basically token, which is social money. And you create money on the spot based on what the community values. So you decide on what goals you have and what things you need to be doing, and people do things and the system rewards them. And the way it works is that people contribute on GitHub, and so like as you contribute and more people build on your work, you get more cred. As you write on forums and Discord, you also write and people engage with what you're writing or they react to it, you get some cred. And there's also the manual input, which we use because not everything is properly accounted for through these three platforms. And the main projects of this phase one are the meta library, which is this basically a wiki that has the resources to everything that you need for building these decentralized applications and organizations. And there are these my meta profiles, which is a way to show the other players of MetaGame like who you are, and at some point people will be able to use these profiles to have their own shop or like interact with decentralized applications and whatnot. And the idea is it will be extremely modular and customizable. So these are the examples with the different backgrounds. And it has your name, your role, like your personality type. We are switching to Myers-Briggs, and these are the enneagrams. The skills and the contacts, and this is the gallery that you can use to sell your things or show your artwork, the organizations that you're a part of, and what's your stake in these organizations, what are your achievements, your time zone, your availability, and these two are used basically to get into contact and into relationships with people. And these are not the only project we're working on. We have a bunch of things going on. I'm not actually going to go through all of these. I just wanted to sort of show how our like navigation system, which like some of you may be familiar with the donut economics, which is this thing made by Kate Raworth. And she also talks a lot about how the world is focused on completely wrong metrics and how we need a better navigation system. And this is what she presented. And it's pretty self-explanatory. The outside ring shows the things that we are doing too much of, and the inner circle the things that we are doing too little of. And the green space is where the optimal space, and you can see how we apply that to our mission. Going forward, then phase 2 of the project, which is the web of opportunity. And the idea is that by that point, we will have built a big enough community and enough projects that we can attract capital in the crypto space, so we can summon the great flood, which is our idea of getting a flood of capital into MetaGame, so we can build even more cool things and like recruit more people that are working in things outside of crypto, so we can start to stop focusing on crypto, because that's simply where we're starting, and so we can broaden the focus and start solving actually like real world problems, because crypto is a narrow space. And then like years later, we transitioned to phase 3, which is a web of life. And the goal here is to be supporting thousands of people that are doing some meaningful things and help them make a living. There would be co-living and co-working space inside the game, like projects that are like, they're obviously not by us. So maybe I messed up a little by not explaining in the intro that there are 2 two types of participants, I guess, in MetaGame. One is a player and the other is a guild. And the guilds are like groups of people having their own projects. So the idea that we will be onboarding basically other guilds that are aligned with the mission of MetaGame, that will then be offering all these other services, which are in phase 3, like things like off-the-grid farms and eco-villages and co-living spaces and whatnot. And the idea is that by that point, we will be like really deep into solving real-world problems and paying people to take part in these ecological and philanthropic initiatives. And this is sort of a quote I live by. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for listening. And yeah, open to questions.
All right. I'm going to stop sharing your screen, if that's okay. Or do you need to be shared?
No, that's fine.
Okay.